Normally, it would be the last thing you would see in your life if you were to experience it in the wild. But luckily, at the new Arctic Ring in the Copenhagen Zoo, visitors can get a chance to see polar bears closer than ever before. Lifestyles has more on the dangerous predators exhibit. A new plant for Arctic animals has been inaugurated in Copenhagen Zoo. Visitors can get as close as only a few inches to watch the polar bears without any threat of harm.
Well, the Arctic Ring that we have right behind us here is actually an exhibit where we have seals, harbor seals, polar bears, and some of the birds from the Arctic. We've been building for this for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's through a great donation we actually have this opportunity to build here and put some of the Arctic wildlife in focus here in Copenhagen.
Thanks to a donation by the Maersk Foundation, the living environment of the Arctic Circle gives those creatures ideal conditions.
Some of the big issues with polar bears is that they need some quite spacious area with a lot of water as well, so they can exercise and they can move around. And then one of the biggest things is to make sure that they have new things to do. In the exhibit here, we have different gravel, different grounds, places where there's plants, grass. We feed them many times during the day, so they always have something new to keep them busy with.
The zoo is doing a lot to make sure that they express natural behavior and live as naturally as possible in captivity. In the wild, these animals would have to survive minus 40 degrees Celsius in the winter. Luckily, in Denmark, they don't have to endure the freezingly cold weather. And the polar bears don't mind having a hot summer, adapting themselves nicely to the temperatures here. So life is much easier here with less miserable climate, adequate food, and, if they get sick, a veterinarian would come and take care of them. Compared with wild polar bears, the two who were born here in the zoo are much easier to get along with. The Copenhagen Zoo is too impatient to wait for the next generation to come, even though the two bears are still very young.
We have a great history for polar bear cubs here in the zoo, but these ones are quite young. The female has been here for a few years. She came up from an Italian zoo, and the male came from a Russian zoo a few years ago. So they're still teenagers, and we saw the first matings actually last summer. But polar bears are a bit difficult. They need when they go, the female goes into hibernation during the winter where she has her cubs, and they need a special built room for that, where there's almost no sound. The smallest disturbance, and she might end up being stressed and actually eating her young, because in the wild where she had some sound there, it will be a male polar bear coming to eat her cubs. So then normally she will just get scared and do it herself. So hopefully next year we'll be so lucky.
The Arctic Circle cost around $30 million, and the number of visitors has already set new records in its first 2 days.